السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. نكمل إن شاء الله تعالى آه، القراءة من كتاب الروض المربع، وكنا قد وقفنا عند قوله فصل في الكلام على السجود لنقص. This is continuing with the chapter of سجود السهو. سجود السهو. And now في الكلام على السجود لنقص. And again, we're always assuming that we have up to this uh, page, we have it reviewed, understood, inshallah ta'ala, since if there's anything that is understood, not understood properly, then you should ask, inshallah. So, assuming that, we just continue with the book, inshallah, without reviewing. Maybe at the end of the chapter, we can go through some of the major things here to be understood, inshallah. So, فيقول في الكلام على السجود لنقص. What has been reported with regards to السجود لنقص. So السجود we said سجود السهو إما لزيادة أو لنقص أو لشك. ثلاثة أحوال هنا. Three types, whether to make سجود السهو for something, for an increase, or for decrease, omitting something in the salah, or for doubt. So we talked about the increase. Now here الكلام على السجود لنقص, with a decrease, omitting something in the salah, not making something in the salah. Then when is sujood al-sahwi here becomes wajib or mandatory. He says, I will read both together inshallah. وَمَنْ تَرَكَ رُكْنًا فَإِنْ كَانَتِ التَّحْرِيمِ. So the first thing, مَنْ تَرَكَ رُكْنًا, whoever leaves rukn, a pillar of the salah. And we talked about the pillars of the salah. فَإِنْ كَانَتِ التَّحْرِيمَةَ لَمْ تَنْعَقِدْ صَلَاته. فإن كانت التحريم, if the missed ركن, if the missed pillar is تحريمة التحريمة, which is تكبيرة الإحرام, لم تنعقد صلاته. لم تنعقد صلاته. His salah is not even intact, in place. لم تنعقد صلاته, because عقد الصلاة, انعقاد الصلاة يكون بتكبيرة الإحرام. So he's not in صلاة to start with. فإن كانت التحريمة لم تنعقد صلاته. وإن كان غيرها, if it's other than takbiratul ihram, from the arkan, from the pillars of the salah, now there is more than one case. Either, number one, فذكره بعد شروعه في قراءة ركعة أخرى. ذكره, he remembered that rukn after he started the recitation of the next or the second rak'ah or the next rak'ah. فذكره بعد شروعه في قراءة ركعة أخرى. قراءة is the recitation. And the recitation is literally the recitation. So when a person stand up for a rak'ah and start reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. So this is where, that means if he stood up and he's standing up for the next rak'ah, and he remembered that he missed a rak'ah in the previous rak'ah, right? Still, it's, here, that means before reciting it. He still can go back according to this, because he did not start to recite yet. فذكره بعد شروعه في قراءة ركعة أخرى. بطلت الركعة التي تركه منها. If he started the recitation of the second rak'ah, then the previous rak'ah بطلت, becomes invalid. التي تركه منها, the one that he left or omitted a pillar in it. وقامت الركعة التي تليها مقامها. And then the rak'ah that follows it, التي تليها, takes its place. قامت مقامها. It took its position. ويجزئه الاستفتاح الأول. الاستفتاح الأول that he made after saying الله أكبر in the beginning of the salah, the dua of الاستفتاح, سبحانك اللهم ربنا وبحمدك وتبارك اسمك وتعالى جدك, يجزئه. Now say that the missing of the pillar was in the first rak'ah. So that means this first rak'ah now is invalid anymore, because he started reciting the second rak'ah. So what to do with the first istiftah, or even takbiratul ihram that he did in the beginning? The rak'ah is invalid, but what he did in the first rak'ah to start the salah is valid. So this is here what is meant by وَيُجْزِئُهُ الاستفتاح الأول. فإن رجع إلى الأولى عالما عمدا بطلت صلاته. If he returns to the first rak'ah, or that rak'ah that he missed a rukn in it, عالما, knowing, عمدا, intentionally, بطلت صلاته, his salah becomes invalid. His salah becomes invalid. عالما, that means he knows the ruling. He's not ignorant about it. And عمدا, that means he's not sahwan, he's not forgetfulness, out of forgetfulness. بطلت صلاته. وإن ذكر ما تركه قبله. So now this is the case where he remembered after he started reciting the next rak'ah. The second case, وإن ذكر ما تركه قبله. If it's before reciting the second or the next rak'ah. أي قبل الشروع في قراءة الأخرى. Before starting the recitation in the next rak'ah. That means he's still within the first rak'ah or within that same rak'ah that he missed a pillar in it. يعود وجوبا فيأتي به. He has to return back in as an obligation. فيأتي به, to come back with the rukn that he missed. So he missed a sajda, for example. Right? And before reciting the next rak'ah, he remembered that he missed a sajda. He has to go as an obligation to that rukn that he missed, to that rukn, because he's still considered to be within that first or that rak'ah that he missed the rukn in. فيأتي به أي بالمتروك. What's به here refers to al-matruk, what is being omitted or left. وبما بعده, and then continue what's after it. So if he missed the first sajda in that one rak'ah, in the first rak'ah, for example, and he remembered it before he started reciting the next rak'ah, then he goes back to that first sajda. So he make that sujood. وبما بعده, and to continue what comes after it, which is the sitting between the two sajda and the second sajda, and so on, even though he did it. But as the reason why, لأن الركن لا يسقط بالسهو. First of all, because the rukn, as a rule, never get omitted or valid to miss it بالسهو, by forgetfulness. It doesn't matter what you forgot or not, you have to come up with the rukn. The pillars, they have to be done. وما بعده قد أتى به بغير محله. Why does he have to continue from there on to start over again from where he missed and then afterwards? Because what comes after it, قد أتى به, he did it, but في غير محله, not in its proper place, because it has to be in that particular order. فإن لم يعد عمدا بطلت صلاته. If he does not go back intentionally, his salah is invalid. He remembered before the shuru'a, before starting the recitation of the next rak'ah, he remembered that he missed a rukn, a pillar in the previous rak'ah, so he did not return back to it. Amdan, intentionally, not forgetfulness. Then his salah becomes invalid. Right? Amdan batalat salatu wa sahwan batalat al-rak'ah. If he did not return out of forgetfulness, the rak'ah becomes invalid. Only the rak'ah. والتي تليها عوضها. And what comes after it, عوضها, takes its place. Compensate for it. So compensate for it, and then he continues. Becomes the first rak'ah instead of the second rak'ah for him. فإن لم يعد. And عمدا here, because this is intentional, knowingly, his salah becomes invalid because he's making salah that is intentionally wrong and missing pillars intentionally. So then he says, وَإِنْ عَلِمَ الْمَتْرُوكَ بَعْدَ السَّلَامِ. Now this is all the different cases now. So as we said, if he remembers after the end, after the rak'ah, and he starts to recite the next rak'ah, then that first rak'ah is invalid, and the second rak'ah takes the place of the previous rak'ah. If he remembers it before starting the recitation of the next rak'ah, then he has to go back to what he remembered that he missed as a rukn, as a pillar, and then he continue from that point on, right? And if he does not return and knowingly, then the salah becomes invalid. So now, وَإِنْ عَلِمَ الْمَتْرُوكِ, the other case, in عَلِمَ الْمَتْرُوكِ, if that musalli, he got to realize al-matruk, what's left, which is the pillar, was still in the pillar here. He missed a pillar. Now he remembered that he missed a pillar, but he remembered بعد السلام, after the salam. فكترك ركعة كاملة. It's like missing an entire rak'ah. So now he remembered after the salam that he missed a sajda in the second rak'ah, for example. And that's after making salam from the salah. So the ruling of it is like the same ruling as missing an entire rak'ah. What's the ruling of missing an entire rak'ah? فَيَأْتِي بِرَكْعَةٍ. Then he makes one rak'ah. He prays one rak'ah. وَيَسْجُدُ لِلسَّهْوِ. He says Allahu Akbar and he prays an entire rak'ah. وَيَسْجُدُ لِلسَّهْوِ. And he makes sujood for a sahw. But that is with a condition. With a condition. The first condition, ما لم يطل الفصل. As long as the separation after he made the salam of the salah till he remembered and start the rak'ah that he missed, as long as it's not too long. And the length of it is to be known urfan, by the urf. And if you remember, we talked about al-kalam. Al-kalam after the salah, if it's fi maslahat al-salah, if it's for the benefit of the salah, then then it's okay. It does not break the continuity of the salah. But if it's not for the maslaha, if it's not for the benefit of the salah, wordly kalam, wordly speech, then he has to repeat the entire salah in this case. ما لم يطل الفصل. And ما لم يكن المتروك تشهدا أخيرا أو سلاما. Also, as long as the matruk, which is left, which is missed of a pillar, as long as it's not the tashahhud al-akhir. So now the last tashahhud or the salam has a special case. If someone missed the last tashahhud of Salatul Dhuhr, for example, he sat down and he did not say the tashahhud. He missed it, which is at-tahiyyatu lillah and so on. أو salaman, he forgot to make salam. So what? Forgot. If he forgot to make tashahhud or he forgot to make salam. So what's the ruling here? فَيَأْتِي بِهِ. Then he only go back to the tashahhud. He does not make an entire rak'ah. He would only go back to the tashahhud, sits for the tashahhud and say it, or to sit and say the salam. فَيَأْتِي بِهِ وَيَسْجُدْ وَيُسَلِّمْ. And then after that, if you make sujood al-sahw and then he makes salam. So the case here that he missed the last tashahhud and he made salam. So he missed the last tashahhud and he said salam. And somebody told him or he remembered that he did not, or he would remember that he did not make the tashahhud. Then to sit back again in the tashahhud, to say the tashahhud, and then to make sujood, 2 sajda of sahw, and then to make salam. What if he forgot the salam? He said the tashahhud al-akhir, but then he walked out of the salah. He forgot to make salam. And right after that, he remembered, or someone told him. Then he sits, not the entire rak'ah, just to sit and to make salam only. But in this case, he would sit and make two sajda, and then he makes salam. فَيَأْتِي بِهِ وَيَسْجُدْ وَيُسَلِّمْ وَيَسْجُدْ وَيُسَلِّمْ. I hope it's clear. So وَإِنْ عَلِمَ الْمَتْرُوكِ. This is in the case if he get to recognize or realize or remembers the matruk, what's left as a rukn, as a pillar, after the salam. He would make an entire rak'ah, as long as there's not a long time that separates the salam from remembering, and makes sujood of as-sahw, as long as this matruk is not the last tashahhud or the salam. If it's the last tashahhud or the salam, he sits, he makes the tashahhud, he sits, he makes the salam, but then he would make sujood sahw and then make salam. And he make the salam and make the sujood sahw afterwards, that's fine also. He says, وَمَنْ ذَكَرَ تَرْكَ رُكْنٍ وَجَهِلَهُ أَوْ مَحِلَّهُ عَمِلَ بِالْأَحْوَطِ. مَنْ ذَكَرَ تَرْكَ رُكْنٍ وَجَهِلَهُ أَوْ مَحِلَّهُ. Whoever remembers that he left a rukn. He left a rukn. وَجَهِلَهُ. And he did not know it. Did not know which one. Which rukn that he missed. But he know for sure with certainty that he missed a rukn. But he does not know which one. أو محله, he does not remember the place of it. First rak'ah, second rak'ah, which place. Right? عمل بالأحوط, he should act upon al-ahwat, or the safest case here. So the safest, meaning if he, and sometimes these masail, by the way, is just to make it clear what's the ruling here. Sometimes it's rare to happen. But say, for example, someone, he knows for sure that he missed a rukn, but he's not sure whether it's ruku' or sujood. of that particular rak'ah, and he's still in it. He did not start reciting the next rak'ah. Then he should, al-ahwat is what? Make it ruku'. Al-ahwat, this is what's the safe side. Why? Because if he makes it as the sujood, what if it was the ruku'? Then he would miss. So this is what amila bil-ahwat is if he does not remember the specific rukn and its place. So then he go back to the further one away so that he would make sure that he is on the safe side with that. Again, this is normal situations, something that happens every so long, not someone that has waswas. Once the matter is repeated, then that's something that's very dangerous, and a person should not act upon the whispers of the shaitan that is repeated on a daily basis or so. So this is tark rukn. A person misses a rukn, it's in the same rak'ah remembered, or after the rak'ah is finished, or after the salam. Then he says, وَإِن نَسِيَ التَّشَهُّدَ الْأَوَّلِ وَإِن نَسِيَ التَّشَهُّدَ الْأَوَّلِ. If he forgets the first tashahhud, وحده, alone, only the first tashahhud. أو مع الجلوس له, أو he forgot to sit for it. ونهض للقيام, and he stood up to stand. النهوض is the actual rising from sitting to stand. Here لزمه الحكم, لزمه الرجوع إليه, لزمه. That means it becomes obligatory upon him. He has to return back to it. الرجوع to what? To التشهد الأول. But with a condition. ما لم ينتصب قائما. As long as he did not stand up straight. Al-intisab is when someone is erected, someone is completely standing up. So that means he's already in the position of standing. If he becomes completely standing, that's al-intisab here, ما لم ينتصب قائما, then فإن استتم قائما كره رجوعه. استتم قائما, he finished the movement of getting up. He missed the first tashahhud, right? Salatul Dhuhr, for example. He missed the first tashahhud and he already stood up for the third rak'ah and well established in standing. استتم قائما, not still coming up. No, he finished the movement. He's already standing. He did not recite yet. Be careful because the words are very precise here. In this case, if he returns, the salah is still valid, but kuriha ruju'u. It's disliked for him. The ruling is makruh. This is a very particular ruling here, right? We have to be very precise in understanding it. So the case here, someone missed the first tashahhud. He stood up for the third rak'ah. He did not recite Surah Al-Fatiha yet. What should he do? And he remembers that he missed the tashahhud and he already stood up completely. He should continue. He should not return back. What if he returns back? It's makruh. It's only makruh for him to return back. Why? Because he did not start the recitation yet. If he starts the recitation of the next rak'ah, which is in this case will be the third rak'ah, then it's not permissible for him to return as it's going to be mentioned. So make sure that you understand the difference here. So he said, لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا قام أحدكم من الركعتين فلم يستتم قائما فليجلس. The hadith, if one of you إذا قام, stood up من الركعتين, after the two rak'ah, فلم يستتم قائما, did not complete his standing, that means he's still getting up, فليجلس, let him sit down. فإن استتم قائما, if he completes his standing, now he stood up and that's it, all of the joints stopped moving, فلا يجلس, he should not sit down, let him not sit down. وَلْيَسْجُدْ سَجْدَتَيْن, and let him make two sajda because he missed the first tashahhud. This hadith, ulama, they have differences of opinions in authenticating it. So, as you see, even in the footnote here in the bottom is mentioned, and some authenticated it, like in Sheikh Ibrahim rahimahullah. رواه أبو داود وابن ماجه من حديث المغيرة ابن شعبة. So again, the hadith, the meaning of it is correct, and this is what is being acted upon here, as we heard. Like this is in the case he missed the first tashahhud and intasaba qa'iman, istatamma qa'iman. You have to understand these words, and that's it. So that means, what if he did not stand completely? There's cases here. The case where he did not stand up completely, and the case of starting the recitation of the following rak'ah. وَإِن لَمْ يَنْتَصِبْ قَائِمًا. So the first case, if he did not complete his standing, he's not yet standing in the standing position. What is the ruling here? لَزِمَهُ الرُّجُوعِ. He has to return back. So this is mukarrar. It's a repeated statement. So in the sharh is saying that he repeated لَزِمَهُ الرُّجُوعِ. It's the same thing. Because he says وَإِن نَسِيَ التَّجَهُدَ الْأَوَّلِ وَنَهَضَ لَزِمَهُ الرُّجُوعِ. He has to return back. ما لم ينتصب قائما. So this is kind of repeating the same statement. So وَإِن لَمْ ينتصب قائما لَزِمَهُ الرُّجُوعِ. If he did not complete his movement and he's not standing yet, he's on the way to stand, then and he remembered, he should return. It's a must on him to return. So this is what the meaning of mukarrar, meaning the statement of the author of Zad al-Mustaqni is repeated. مع قوله لازمه الرجوع ما لم ينتصب قائما, which is the previous statement. Clear? So this is إن لم ينتصب قائما. So we have a حكم إذا انتصب قائما, and we have a حكم if إن لم ينتصب قائما. إن انتصب قائما, what's the حكم? I see someone saying haram. No, makruh. إذا انتصب قائما, it's makruh to return. إن لم ينتصب قائما, it's wajib upon him to sit down. This is in missing the first tashahhud. Now the third case, وَإِن شَرَعَ فِي الْقِرَاءَةِ. Now he is انتصب قائما, he stood up, and now he started the recitation of the following rak'ah. وَإِن شَرَعَ فِي الْقِرَاءَةِ. What's the حكم? حَرُمَ عَلَيْهِ الرُّجُوعِ. The ruju' becomes haram on him. So pay attention. So we're talking about what's حكم الرجوع. Someone missed the first tashahhud. What's حكم الرجوع for him? He missed it, and he is going to the third rak'ah. الرجوع wajib can be either wajib, obligatory, or makruh, or haram. Wajib if he did not yet stood up completely, on the way to stand up, in the process of a nuhud, then it's لازمه الرجوع. He has to return. إذا استتم قائما أو انتصب قائما, then الرجوع حكمه مكروه. حكم of الرجوع is مكروه. إذا شرع في القراءة, الرجوع حرام. حرم عليه الرجوع. وإن شرع في القراءة حرم عليه الرجوع. Why is that? لأن القراءة ركن مقصود في نفسه بخلاف القيام. See the way the fiqh makes the person understand why the ulama, these rulings are not just like that. It's all based on the qawa'id, the principles of the shar', of the deen, and sometimes it's qawa'id amma, sometimes it's general rulings that applies to many things. So here he says لأن القراءة ركن مقصود في نفسه. The recitation in the salah, in the rak'ah, in standing, is a rukn, is a pillar, of course, but it's مقصود في نفسه. It's intended for itself, not as a mean for something else. بخلاف القيام, which is different than القيام. القيام is مقصود لوات? مقصود القراءة. Why we stand in the salah, and standing is a pillar of the salah, of course, for those who are able to do it, because al-qiyam is a mean to recite. The objective is to recite. They're both pillars. So لأن القراءة ركن مقصود في نفسه بخلاف القيام. And that's why al-qiyam, even though he missed the first tashahhud and he went to a pillar, but it's makruh to return even though now he's in the next pillar. But it's a pillar that is meant for the other pillar, which is the recitation. That's why they say makruh and haram depends whether a person started the recitation or not. Clear? فإن رجع عالما عمدا بطلت صلاته. If he returns after he started reciting the following rak'ah, if he returns عالما, knowing the ruling, and عمدا, intentionally, بطلت صلاته, his salah is invalid. So if he returned out of forgetfulness, his salah is valid. If he returned out of he does not know the ruling, it happens a lot, where an imam of a salah, he stand up for the third rak'ah, And the people say, Subhanallah, he already stood up, right? Even though he did not recite yet, but they say Subhanallah to him. So many people might sit down, not knowing the ruling. So if he sits down, not knowing the ruling, the salah is valid. Or he sat down out of forgetfulness. Sometimes it's an instinct, right? You're not paying attention, you sit down. So the salah is valid. But if intentionally knowing the ruling, then that invalidates the salah. But invalidates only if he start reciting the Quran after it. If he returns before reciting the Quran, then it's makruh. ويلزم المأموم متابعته. The مأموم has to follow the imam. The مأموم has to follow the imam even though the imam here forgot and the مأموم didn't forget. وكذا كل واجب. And this is the same ruling with every wajib that is missed in the salah. فيرجع إلى تسبيح ركوع وسجود قبل اعتداله لا بعده. So he returns to تسبيح الركوع. تسبيح الركوع one is sufficient. So if he missed the تسبيح سبحان ربي العظيم in the ركوع and he's getting up from the ruku'. While he's getting up, he remembered that he did not make the tasbih. Go back. And if he stood up completely, that means خلاص it's too late. وسجود قبل اعتدال. He missed a sujud before sitting. لا بعده. وسجود قبل اعتدال لا بعده. But the sujud is تسبيح ركوع والسجود. The tasbih of the ruku' and the tasbih of the sujud. So he missed the tasbih of the sujud. He did not say Subhana Rabbiyal A'la in the sujud. And while he's getting up, before he sat down, he remembered that he did not make Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, then he goes back. He should go back. But if he remembers it after he sat down, then he should not go back because now he's in a pillar. So he should not go back to the wajib. And what's the ruling here? Just make sujood as-sahw. So hopefully this is clear, inshallah. We have wajibat, we have arkan. And then he says, وَعَلَيْهِ السُّجُودِ أي سُجُودُ السَّهْوِ الْكُلِّ. All of these cases, he has to make سُجُود السَّهْوِ الْكُلِّ أي كُلِّ ما تقدم, all of what has been mentioned before. So now this is for the naqs. This is for the omitting something or missing something. Let's take the shak quickly, inshallah, and see if it's clear, inshallah. He says, وَمَنْ شَكَّ فِي عَدَدِ الرَّكْعَةِ. After ziyada or naqs, after mentioning what's the ruling if something added to the salah versus something omitted from the salah. Now if he's in doubt, في عدد الركعات, in the number of the ركعات, بأن تردد أصلى ثنتين أم ثلاثا مثلا. As an example, he was in doubt whether he prayed 2 or 3 ركعة. أخذ بالأقل. He would take أخذ, what he should act upon is الأقل, the lesser of the 2 numbers. So that means he would consider himself only prayed 2, because that's the yaqeen. But he's in doubt whether this is the 3rd or not. The yaqeen is 2. So then he acted upon that it's 2. لأنه المتيقن. Because the principle here that you act based on yaqeen, based on certainty, not based on doubt. ولا فرق بين الإمام والمنفرد. There's no difference between the imam or someone praying alone. Why didn't he mention the ma'mum? Because the ma'mum follows the imam. ولا يرجع مأموم واحد إلى فعل إمامه. ولا يرجع مأموم واحد إلى فعل إمامه. فإذا سلم إمامه أتى بما شك فيه وسجد وسلم. ولا يرجع مأموم واحد. Now there's the case where there's only one مأموم. That means people are only 2 in the jama'ah. So the imam and the ma'mum. One ma'mum only, not a group of them. So now it's the imam versus the ma'mum. So here it says ولا يرجع مأموم واحد إلى فعل إمامه. One ma'mum, he should not go back to the fi'l or to the action of his imam. فإذا سلم إمامه أتى بما شك فيه وسجد وسلم. If the imam made salam afterwards, then the ma'mum should go back to what he's in doubt of and sajada wa sallam, and he makes sujood afterwards, and sallam, that means that he makes salam. So here this is يعني maybe we should keep this for the next time so that we don't get into let me see. Let's continue that inshallah ta'ala next time. I don't want to mention many masail and to make the matter confusing. But let's stop before the shak because the shak has many different rulings to it, so that we comprehend it well, inshallah. So let's do that, inshallah. Okay. So as if we didn't start yet, من شك في عدد الركعات. First of all, the attendance code is الرجوع. Attendance code is الرجوع. No, the salam here means the salam from the salah. The salam, that means he finished the salah without salam. Someone forgot tasbih of ruku' and stood up and already he's starting the tasmi' Sami Allah min hamida. Is it haram to go back to ruku'? Yes. You don't go back to ruku' and you make sajdat as-sahw. So salam means taslim because it's rukn, and salam on the Prophet is not rukn. Correct. The salam of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is wajib, is not rukn. So if it's missed, then a person and he made salam, then what is sufficient is to just make the sujood as-sahw, meaning the taslim at the end. But to return back after the salam and to make the salam, this is the salam at the end of the salah. صحة القول بأنه إذا زاد في صلاة فيسجد بعد التسليم وإذا نقص فيها فقبل التسليم، نعم، هذا قول صحيح، وهو القول الذي ذكره أهل العلم للمحققين من أهل العلم. To say that if the sahw, if forgetting in the salah because of the increase, you make the sujood sahw after the taslim, and if the sahw is in missing something, that you make it before the taslim. This is correct for those who looked into the hadith, and this is they found this matter very clear in the hadith. I mean, it's to perfect one's action in the sujood sahw. But if it's either way, it's fine, it's valid, inshallah. No. Someone says, for example, if you missed a rukn in rak'ah in the prayer, then you realize, should you continue the prayer as if that rak'ah didn't happen? So you continue the prayer from the beginning of that rak'ah, and when finished, make sajdat as-sahw. If you remembered within the same rak'ah, if you're still in the same rak'ah, then you go back to what you missed and you continue from there and you make two sujood sahw. If you remembered what you missed of a rukn and the rak'ah is already finished and you started the next rak'ah, then you don't consider the previous rak'ah and you consider the rak'ah that you're in now, for example, is the first rak'ah, if what's missed in the second rak'ah. And then you finish the salah and make sujood sahw at the end. Then barakallahu fikum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept, inshallah, and make us among those who learn and benefit from the knowledge and act upon it, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.